Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nick Talks Football, Episode 1. So, I'm starting this as a way to kind of just essentially BS about football for what goes on throughout the week. I'm thinking that this is possibly going to be a once a week upload kind of thing, recapping everything that has happened within the past week. Um, and essentially using this as a way to kind of start my own talk show slash podcast, whatever you want to talk about. So here's the thing. I had tried to do this a little bit last off season, and it kind of just all fell off due to things that I had going on in my own life. So we're gonna try this again and see if this works. So we are going to get started with this, and this is going to be episode 1, and specifically of Nick Talks Football. So we're basically going to be covering today a little bit of how I became an Eagles fan, what made me an Eagles fan. We're going to be going over, the offseason for what is now 30 of the 32 NFL teams. And we are going to be going over essentially the rundown of how the NFL season went, overall, what had happened with the coach firings and hirings to this point, taking a little bit of a time to talk about the upcoming Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Seahawks, and also me kind of going over some of my favorite Super Bowls in the 30 years that I have been alive and seeing as of 29 of them. Most of these I'm just going to tell you with the Super Bowl thing. It's every Super Bowl from basically the year 2000 and on, because everything before that I was still just a wee little lad and I don't remember any of them. So don't expect me to put the Broncos beating the Packers or the Packers beating the Patriots or the Broncos beating the Falcons or any of that from the 90s. I'm not going to be putting any of those on here. Great games. I just don't specifically remember them. So we're going to get into this. So before we get into everything, give me one sec. I'm just going to real quick pull up kind of how the breakdown of the divisions was this year, so I can kind of go off of that. So NFL standings 2025. Yeah. Over here to ESPN, and there we go. Perfect. Okay, so first note of business is, how did I become an Eagles fan? So everyone has their origin story of how they became a fan of the team that they currently are a fan of. Whether it is you inherited that team, fandom from your parents, from your dad, from your mom, whoever, whether you wanted to spite your family and be the fan of a rival team, or, maybe you weren't really into sports and you got into sports later in your life because you moved to a city that had a very strong fandom for a specific team. Maybe that's how you got into it, or maybe you just got into sports a little bit later in your life and weren't essentially born into a family that had a fandom as is. So, my origin of how I became an Eagles fan goes to, honestly, it goes to my dad. My dad's an Eagles fan, has been for a lot longer than I have. And honestly, it was just me watching games with my dad. I will say this, the first Super Bowl that I ever rooted for a team in was Eagles Patriots in in the Super Bowl in the mid 2000s. So that was the first game I ever remember actually rooting for a team. So yes, I became an Eagles fan through my dad in 2000, roughly about like 2004, 2005, 2003, somewhere in that area. I was, you know, I was born in 95, so most of everything pre 2003 I don't remember too much. There's some stuff that I remember but not too much. But my fandom comes from essentially watching the games with my dad, becoming a fan that way. With all that being said, funny enough, my first ever NFL jersey was actually an Emmitt Smith jersey. So my grandfather was a Cowboys fan. Um, and funny enough, yes, my first jersey was an Emmitt Smith jersey. Fortunately, I'm happy that I became an Eagles fan, because don't know if I could deal with 30 years of misery that the Cowboys have been going through and haven't won a Super Bowl since the 90s. least I've gotten to see 2 Super Bowls, and I've gotten to see my team in 4 Super Bowls and multiple NFC Championship games. So overall, yeah, big shout out to my dad. He was the reason. He's the reason why I'm an Eagles fan, and honestly, started my love for, in general, the sport of football. Funny enough, my first ever true love as a sport was actually baseball, and I actually started, and football kind of overtook it. When I was in high school, when I played, I was a offensive and defensive lineman. When I played in high school, and that really got me into loving the game of football more that I like baseball now. Baseball is my second, football, but there's like, it's like football's here, wide gap, and then baseball. So there is a huge gap between my 2 fandoms and my 2 loves for my sports. But football is my main sport. It is my favorite sport overall. Um, and yeah, I mean that's kind of just how I did it. All big thanks to my dad. Um, but yeah, that's just a little backstory about how I became an Eagles fan. I've been an Eagles fan now for probably about 25 years. Something in that area. Again, my vivid memories of watching the sport were from like 2003, from there. But like I've I was born into being an Eagles fan. Like, you know, I can't say the same for baseball, but at least with football, yes, I was born into being an Eagles fan. I was raised on the light side. I wasn't raised on the dark side. I wasn't raised on the Sith. I was raised as the Jedi. Whatever you want to say. I root for the good guys in our division. Oh boy. Um, but yeah, so let's just kind of get into it now. So, like I said, this is officially the offseason for 30 of the 32 teams in the NFL. Obviously, contracts can't really be handed out yet. Extensions really haven't been done. There hasn't been too many that have been done, and I'm not going to really touch on many of those. But let's just kind of get into how the season went. Kind of go through the rundown, what kind of, how the standings looked come the end of the season. So, we're going to start with my division as an Eagles fan, the NFC East. So we have the Eagles going 11-6, winning the division. We got Dallas finishing in second with a 7-9-1 record. We got Washington going 5-12, and the Giants going 14-3. Kind of expected the way that this. Actually, honestly, I'm going to say this: it wasn't really expected the way that this division went. I was going to say it was kind of expected, but not really, because I feel like standings wise, yes, the how the standings finished is about right, but I feel like the records are what kind of threw everything off. Like, I knew the Giants were going to have a rough year in general. I mean, they're kind of in a rough spot and a huge rebuild right now. Washington, yes, I did kind of figure that they were going to finish third, but I did not expect them to be 5-12. I figured, they made the NFC Championship game last year. They were going to take a step back. It normally happens the year after, making a big playoff run and all of that. So I figured them to take a step back, but I figured at least 10 games for Washington to win. Dallas, I figured 12, and I figured the Eagles to win about 13, 14 games this year. Or we go with 12 and we have like a tiebreaker with Dallas somehow, splitting the season series with Dallas like we always do. I just feel like the home team always wins those. But yeah, I did not expect us to kind of run away with the division by 3 games. That's very surprising to me. Um, yeah, it got a little tight down the road, but I'm gonna be kind of dipping into a little bit more about why I think our season went the way that it did when I talk about the hirings and firings that we have been going on with the coaches. So going to the NFC North, let me get a drink real quick. Got my coffee. So we got the Bears winning the division, Packers, Vikings, Lions. The most competitive division in the NFL this year was the NFC North. And this division did not play out the way that I thought it was going to play out whatsoever. I honestly figured Detroit was going to win this division. They've been such a stalwart the past couple of years. They have played very, very well. And I mean, I guess this year injuries finally caught up with them. I mean, this has been a team that has been dealing with so many injuries over the past couple of seasons that it is very difficult to keep up that level of play overall for as long as they have, with dealing with the amount of injuries that they had. So obviously Chicago going 11-6 was not expected. I figured maybe a third place finish for them. I didn't think 11-6 was going to win the division, but I mean, every game in the North this year seemed to be such a fun game to watch. Packers finishing second with the 9-7-1 record. They actually would have been tied with Minnesota and Detroit if it wasn't for the tie in Dallas. So that kind of helped them out. Minnesota going 9-8 and Detroit going 9-8. Minnesota, honestly, that year could have went so much worse. So yes, like that year could have been so bad for them with all the injuries that they had to deal with quarterback wise. JJ McCarthy, Max Brosmer, and Carson Wentz all took snaps for this team. How, like, Jesus, man, the amount of injuries that this team got nailed with, especially at the quarterback position, is so difficult and so crazy. Um, but yeah, I mean, I like Chicago's upside for the future. I think Detroit will bounce back. They just need to get their injuries under wraps. Minnesota, it's hard to tell, man, because like JJ hasn't played a full season yet, so you really don't know what to get from him. But just from the flashes that we saw this year, they could be a damn good team. And I mean, Green Bay got absolutely feasted on when it came to losing coordinators. Lost their DC. Lost. I think they fired their OC. Maybe no, they didn't fire their OC. Lost their quarterbacks coach. Like they've lost so much, man. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll have to see kind of how that division goes. I feel like that division is going to be a slugfest again next year. So be very fun to watch out. I think North is going to be one of the best divisions in football come next season. NFC South. So we got the Panthers, Bucks, Falcons, and Saints. If you guys don't know who plays in that division, Carolina winning the division at 8-9, which is absolutely disgusting. You had three teams tied for first place. Well, two teams tied for first place, one for third, and then the Saints. So Carolina wins the division at 8-9. Tampa Bay goes 8-9. Atlanta goes 8-9. And New Orleans goes 6-11. However, I truly believe New Orleans was the best team in that division come the end of the year. Kellen Moore is the phenomenal offensive head coach. Tyler Shuck proved a lot of people wrong and how he played come the end of the season. So, you know what? Big ups for New Orleans. Let's give them a round of applause. They found a stud quarterback. You know, the dude honestly played out his damn mind for that division, for his starting spot. Carolina, I mean, Bryce Young looked good. He showed flashes. Rico Dowdle was probably the biggest surprise out of any player this season with how well he did. Kind of came out of nowhere and took over. Teteroa McMillan, I kind of figured was going to be a really good pick for them. Tet ended up being a really good pick for them. Their defensive guys looked good. Tampa Bay, they dealt with a lot of injuries, man. I mean, I feel like every one of their starting three receivers all spent time on the injured list except for Ibuka. I'm pretty sure Godwin was out, Evans was out. I mean, just absolutely feasted upon for injuries. They fired their OC this year. Um, they got a good OC though coming in Zach Robinson. So I'm going to touch on that more in the hiring and firing section of this episode. We got Atlanta going 8-9. They showed flashes, man. They showed flashes. Penix getting injured really killed it. They probably win that division if it's not for Penix getting injured. Bijan took another step. I'm a huge Bijan Robinson fan. I was a little low on him when he came out of the draft just because I feel like you don't take a running back unless he is a generational talent in the top 10. And he proved me majorly wrong, man. I swore to God Bijan was not going to be as good as what he was going to be. Figured he was going to be good. I just didn't think he was going to be this good. So Bijan proved me wrong. I can admit that. And then the Saints, like I touched on, Tyler Shuck looked good. You got to keep Olave healthy. It'll be interesting to see what it looks like running back wise and with retirements because Cam Jordan could be on his way out. Demario Davis is there. Alvin Kamara could be out. I mean, those are three big pieces for New Orleans that have been there for a long time that they might be losing this offseason. So you really have to see. But I mean, I think New Orleans' future is bright. I think that could be a really competitive division, but in a different way that the North is going to be a competitive division. You know what I mean? Like the North is going to be a competitive division because that's going to be a slugfest every week. That's going to be fist fights, old school kind of football. Go out there, put the brass knuckles on, beat each other's ass throughout the whole game. Whereas I think the South is going to be competitive in the fact of it's going to be slop ball, like always. We haven't seen a team really run the division since New Orleans had that really good run. I mean, I feel like every team kind of takes a couple year run of winning the division and then it kind of just returns to shit. So NFC West, honestly, this was one of the most interesting divisions all season because Seattle, who was in the Super Bowl, got the number one seed at 14-3. The Rams go 12-5, but I think legitimately could have been considered one of the best teams in the NFL this year. With just the way that Stafford was playing, their defense looked amazing. I mean, just phenomenal. San Francisco, absolutely decimated by injuries. They were doing ritual sacrifices, I swear to God, at the 49ers complex to keep CMC healthy. So they sacrificed Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. All jokes. However, bro, you finally keep CMC healthy, and then everybody else goes down. Ayuk not playing a single snap for them all year, and has probably played his last snaps for San Francisco. Bosa injured. Fred Warner injured. I mean, bro, they were just dropping like flies all season. And then you got Arizona. I don't understand how Arizona is so bad with the talent that they have. They need to hire a competent head coach, and for the love of God, get somebody in there who is good. Arizona is one of the only teams in the NFL right now that does not have a head coach. How the hell is that possible? They are one of two teams that have not hired a new head coach yet. And I swear to God, I haven't heard anybody interviewing for that Arizona job. That team is going to be absolutely terrible, and yet they have the talent, man. It blows my mind. You have the talent. Kyler, if he's not, out there being Kyler, is a damn good quarterback. Trey Benson is a good running back. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a damn good wide receiver. Trey McBride, arguably the best tight end in the NFL, is a damn good player. Will Johnson is a good corner. Buda Baker is a good safety. You pick up Josh Sweat, damn good edge rusher. Walter Nolan is a good player. Jordan Birch is a good player. How are you so bad with so much talent? This is a coaching thing, it is a front office thing, and it is an ownership thing. They need to do something to make this team better and get a coach in there who can bring out the best of everybody. Look at what Ben Johnson did this year with Chicago. Chicago was one of the worst teams in the NFL last year. A good head coach comes in, he sucks the talent in, he makes everything look good. I'm telling you, Arizona, if you just give this team a coach who can bring the talent out of the players that they have, they are going to be a damn good team. And I mean it. They are going to be a damn good team. People just need to realize that. Now let's switch over to the AFC. So we're going to start with the East, go from the East all the way down. So New England went 14-3 this year. Number 2 seed in the conference. Buffalo 12-5, Miami 7-10, the Jets 3-14. So let's get into this. New England bounce back. I swear to God, Patriots fans, there are a lot of good ones out there. You guys got a lot of fans though that are making it seem like a 5-year reprieve from the last time y'all won a playoff is an eternity. Y'all had a good 20-year run with Brady and Belichick. Guess what? Rebuilds happen. You can't be good forever. You don't luck into good talent with constantly being good. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the perfect example. That's why that team is stuck in purgatory. Patriots fans, a 5-year reprieve from being good has paid off in dividends, man. This team, Mike Vrabel is the right coach for that team. Drake May playing like an MVP candidate. Stephon Diggs playing amazing. Travion Henderson, shout out my Ohio State Buckeyes, amazing running back. Pop Douglas had a big year. Kayshon Boutte has broken out this year, which is amazing. Hunter Henry continues to be good. Shout out Super Bowl champion Milton Williams coming in there and helping bring in a culture. Harold Landry played amazing. Gonzo for Christian Gonzalez, amazing corner. I mean, they are such a well-coached team. They have gotten somebody in there, a lot of teams have to do, is that you got to bring somebody in. You might not have the names, but you need to have a guy that knows how to motivate these guys and have them playing hard. And that's what Vrabel does. I don't think people realize, but Mike Vrabel is just a better version of Dan Campbell. And I love Dan Campbell. I think he is a tremendous coach. I think he is one of the best coaches in the NFL. But Vrabel, like, if you're talking head coaches, man, Vrabel's here and like Campbell's here. Like, Dan Campbell talks that he's going to bite your kneecaps off. Bro, Mike Vrabel said he would chop his balls off for a Super Bowl. I don't know. I would rather not have kneecaps than lose my nuts. That's all I'm saying. But, I mean, Vrabel has done a hell of a job. He did a great job in Tennessee. You know, New England, they needed to take those couple of years, bring in draft picks. They look great. I mean, is New England back? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. However, what we do know is that they're going to the Super Bowl this year. And shout out New England. Patriots fans, enjoy it because obviously you guys have seen 6 of them over the past 20 years. Enjoy it. I mean, look, I like Drake May. I think he's a great dude. You know, we don't have to talk about Stephon Diggs, but Travion Henderson, love the guy. I hope he does well. Milt, I hope he does great. I love Milton Williams. He was a great player for Philadelphia. You know, they have a lot of guys that are very likable. So, you know, shout out New England. Awesome season this year. Buffalo, Josh Allen, you know, the Buffalo Allens, you could call them because they got nothing else, man. They got nothing else. Josh Allen is that team. Josh Allen legitimately might be the most valuable player in the NFL because if it's not for Josh Allen being on that team, that Bills team is the worst team in the NFL. Josh Allen is probably one of the best players in the NFL. And we have seen it this year in different ways for 3 of my top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. So here's the thing. Josh Allen, if he gets injured, Buffalo is screwed. Absolutely screwed. Because hopefully, with the new head coach that they have hired, they finally get Josh Allen some damn help. I hate to tell you, they got a bunch of slot receivers playing on the outside. Brandon Cooks is not an outside guy. Khalil Shakir is not an outside guy. Keon Coleman, you just need someone to develop the dude, man. I mean, he has outside size. He's 6'3". He has a high catch radius. Get this man an outside receiver. For the love of God, get him a number 1 receiver, and Buffalo will be back in the AFC Championship. James Cook is amazing. Don't get me wrong. He is a great running back. Arguably the best running back in the league this year. You know, Deion Dawkins is good. Their defense is solid. Like, McDermott, I swear to God, cost them a couple playoff games, and not giving Josh Allen help. Like, this man is going down an Aaron Rodgers level. Like, Buffalo is the AFC version of the Packers. You don't want to draft a true alpha number 1 wide receiver and you just say to your quarterback that you're paying a hell of a lot of money to, here, go out and win with what we give you. No, bro, give this man some help. I don't care how great anybody is. Not everyone is, like, Tom Brady couldn't even win without help. Yeah, he didn't have an alpha number 1 receiver, but guess what he did have? He had Gronk. That man was a caveman playing football. That was his alpha. You don't need an alpha wide receiver when you have an alpha tight end. When you have a number 1 pass catcher as good as someone like Gronk, Brady didn't need a tremendously good wide receiver. So just get Josh Allen some help, man. Miami, honestly, the fact that they finished 7-10 and then canned Mike McDaniel is hilarious to me because it just shows how dysfunctional that team is. 1, you should have gotten rid of Tua. 2, you trade Tyreek this offseason because he's not going to be the same Tyreek as what he was before. You keep Waddle and you try to build. That's it. But you paid Tua a lot of money, so no one's going to take his contract. Tyreek is now, 32, 33, coming off of a very bad knee injury. I mean, bro, the fact that this Dolphins team went 7-10 this year is impressive. Impressive. And then the Jets. Oh, my God, the Jets, bro. So I am a huge Justin Fields fan. I'm a Justin Fields believer. You can call me delusional, whatever you want. Ohio State quarterback. I am a Justin Fields believer and truly believe that if he was in the right system, this man would thrive. Justin Fields has not had a single competent play caller his whole time in the NFL, bro. If you put Justin Fields in Ben Johnson's system, the Bears would be the same team. And I know that's crazy for me to say that. You put Justin Fields in Ben Johnson's system, A competent play caller builds their offense around the skills of the team. Justin Fields is not a competent play caller. The fact that they hire Aaron Glenn, a defensive minded head coach, this team does not get a single interception all season. And then midway through the season, you say, oh, we suck. Let's trade away a top 5 defensive tackle in the league, Quinnen Williams, Toodles, and let's trade away a top 5 cornerback in Sauce Gardner. Yeah, no shit, you didn't do good. I'm surprised they kept Aaron Glenn, man. Most of the time, teams would scapegoat their head coach. But you know what? Give Aaron Glenn another year. See what happens. AFC North. Pittsburgh Steelers go 10-7. Ravens go 8-9. Bengals go 6-11. Browns go 5-12. So the fact that the Steelers won this division is honestly hilarious because they damn near choked it. If it wasn't for the Ravens, Tyler Loop shaking a field goal. But I think this year it goes in, and scratch what I said earlier about my top 3 quarterbacks. My top 4 of my top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL this year all show why they should be perennial MVP people. And I'm telling you this right now, MVP, we should stop always taking into consideration stats. Because 3 of my top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL this year all missed time and their team's performance tanked. 2 of which in this division. Lamar Jackson missed the majority of the season. Guess what? Baltimore sucked. Joe Burrow missed the majority of this season. Guess what? Cincinnati sucked. Yes, Cincinnati has plenty of other problems. Defensively, they are trash. However, a quarterback as talented as Joe Burrow can make up for a bad defense. Joe Burrow is probably the most valuable quarterback in the NFL right now. Next to Lamar Jackson, next to Josh Allen, and next to Patrick Mahomes. Those are the most valuable quarterbacks in the NFL right now. And, I mean, we've seen it when they don't play. Their teams are bad. Josh Allen is the only quarterback we have not seen miss time. Lamar missed time. Team tanked. Burrow missed time. Team tanked. However, Baltimore was just flooded with injuries this year. I mean, man, I swear to God, like half of their team was injured all season. So, Baltimore, definitely, they need to get over their injury bug, and Lamar needs to get back to how he played previous year. They'll be fine. Cincinnati, the team that probably should have fired their head coach, doesn't fire their head coach. Their ownership is a joke. Like, how do you not fire Zach Taylor? And then you got Cleveland. Well, Cleveland's Cleveland, man. Cleveland's a shit show. We're just going to be completely honest with you. They started 3 different quarterbacks this year. Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. I believe Shedeur Sanders has the ceiling to be a mid-tier NFL quarterback. Do I think that he should have been a Pro Bowler? Absolutely not. That is a joke and a half, and just goes to prove more and more how the NFL is becoming more of a popularity contest compared to actual talent. Because, nothing against Shedeur. Like I said, I think he has an extremely high ceiling. He was not a Pro Bowl worthy quarterback this year, and statistically, when he played, was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Actually, he was the worst quarterback in the NFL. A lot of that probably has to do with the fact that, again, the Browns are a shit show, and until they actually get some competent, ownership in there and front office, and we'll never know. I mean, a lot of people want to blame Shedeur's struggles on Kevin Stefanski scapegoating him and all of this. Stefanski didn't scapegoat him. Why would you do that? Why would you sabotage a rookie quarterback? We gotta shut up about that. All right. There was no scapegoating in there, and anyone that believes that is in their own little Delulu land that they probably shouldn't be really talking football because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. However, I think Shedeur, with the right development, right coaching, all that, can be a mid-tier quarterback, and it's not even a question. I actually believe in Shedeur. Quinshawn Judkins killed his ankle, destroyed his ankle. So, obviously, hope everything is good for him. That's national champion Quinshawn Judkins from Ohio State. Dylan Sampson, I feel like him and Quinshawn are a tremendous 1-2 punch that they have. So, big shout out to those two. Wide receiver wise, you need to get yourself an alpha. Again, a lot of teams are lacking a true number 1 wide receiver. And It doesn't have to be some sort of alpha dog, crazy guy like, an AJ Brown or, a Rasheed Rice or a Jackson Smith and Jigba or, anybody like that. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. Give me one sec. Got a little drinky break real quick. Some tea. Like, you just need to get yourself a competent pass catcher because they really don't have that on the team. Njoku's good. Yeah, absolutely. Harold Fannin. I was in love with Harold Fannin coming out of college, man. I wanted the Eagles to draft him so bad to be our replacement for Goddard because I knew he was going to be a free agent. I think Fannin would have been a tremendous get. Pair him back with his coach from Bowling Green and Scott Loeffler. But yeah, let's go to the AFC South. Two playoff teams from this division. I mean, I really didn't even touch on Pittsburgh either. Shout out Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers, good last run. He could be retiring, but we don't know. AFC South. Let's go to this. Jacksonville finishing 13-4, Houston going 12-5, Indy going 8-9, and Tennessee going 3-14. We're going to start from the bottom and move our way up because this is a very interesting division to me. Tennessee, we kind of figured was going to be bad. Arguably one of the worst rosters in the NFL this year. You throw Cam Ward in there, who this was just an overall weak draft class quarterback wise, and the fact that Cam Ward was the number one pick, I don't know, man. That was just insane to me. I personally believe in if you don't have a team already set, don't draft a rookie quarterback. I know it's enticing. It's not worth it. You're going to stunt the development of your rookie and potential franchise quarterback. Stop that. Don't do that. Teams need to learn. Stop drafting a quarterback before you have everything else in place. It just doesn't work that way. Like, the Giants are probably the one exception this year where you had your number one pass catcher. You had a legit, running back already in Tyrone Tracy. You had a very good defense with your pass rush. You had a decent O-line, can still get better, but had a decent O-line. So them drafting Jackson Dart was the smart move. But a team like Tennessee, man, you got no O-line. You have no true great running back. Not even great, good. I mean, Tony Pollard is not good. He was a number 2 back in Dallas for a reason because he's a good complementary back. He's not a good lead back. You didn't have a number 1 receiver. Ridley. Wow. Okay. Calvin Ridley is not a number 1 receiver. Shamiri DK is not a number 1 receiver. Alec Ayumanor is not a number 1 receiver. You have a really solid tight end who I hope they keep, and Chigoziem Okonkwo. I think he could be pretty good. And defensively, you got the pieces. Like, Olafemi. Olafemi. I think that's it. Either that, I might be confusing them, but you got pieces on defense. I mean, it's just a very bad overall roster, man. And what they should have done is they should have traded out of number 1 and then allowed and got extra draft assets. Look at what Cleveland did. A lot of people want to hate on Cleveland passing up on Travis Hunter. Man, I'm not going to lie. Cleveland looks smart doing that. They got 2 firsts this year. They drafted Mason Graham last year, who turned out to be pretty damn good. Carson Schlesinger came out to be very good for them. You got 2 picks this year. Yes, you got 1 in the top 10 and 1 in the 20s. But, I mean, still, you got 2 picks this year in a little bit more of a better class than what was last year. So, I mean, Cleveland actually made a really smart move. Tennessee kind of should have done the same thing because you would have gotten so much more for the number 1 pick. The number 1 pick is so valuable. They should have traded out of it. I don't care if you think that you need a quarterback to kickstart a rebuild. No. Get a bridge guy to just get you through. You know you're going to be tanking for a couple of years. You need to build the rest of your team first and then get your quarterback. This draft class this year, better quarterback class. The draft class next year, already miles better. I mean, this year, they would have traded back. You could have had the chance to maybe draft an offensive lineman, You could have, last year you draft an offensive lineman, you get a couple extra pieces in there. This year, hey, maybe you pick up Fernando Mendoza because you luck into the number one pick again. Yeah, honestly, if you don't draft Cam Ward, you probably get the number one pick because you probably only win one game or go winless. You know, you think smart, you do this smart, and you don't take the quarterback first. You build everything else, and then you take the quarterback. So then let's go to Indianapolis, the team that looked like the best team in the NFL through halfway through the season. Daniel Jones tears his Achilles. God, I hate that for him so much because you're playing so well. They had to go and sign Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers is a grandfather. You know how crazy that is? We have not seen somebody that old play in the NFL. Well, okay, since Tom Brady, but like, you think about that? Someone playing in the NFL who could be a grandfather? Maybe George Blanda from like way back? Maybe. But I mean, that's crazy. Philip Rivers comes in, they end up falling off an absolute cliff. Jonathan Taylor was being looked at as, an MVP candidate. Shane Steichen was being looked at as a coach of the year candidate. I mean, just a tremendous start to the season for Indianapolis, and then you shit the bed. you just have a terrible season, and it all just kind of goes downhill. So, man, Shane Steichen, former Eagles coach, I want nothing but the best for him, man. He's a damn good coach. I wish Anthony Richardson would have worked out because I feel like modern day quarterback wise, he is the prototypical modern day quarterback. 6'5", 235, rocket arm, can run like Lamar, like just got the arm of Herbert, got the arm of Josh Allen, and the legs of Lamar. I mean, just an absolute tank, man. He talent wise, he could be considered, or build wise, is probably one of the top 5 builds in the NFL, but just never worked out. Houston goes 12-5. Houston's such a jaded team to me, man, because their defense was incredible this year. Absolutely incredible. Stingley, another great year. Petrie, another great year. Kamari Lassiter, breakout. Bullock, breakout. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter just torturing quarterbacks. Azeez Al-Shaair, someone who I wanted the Eagles to pick up a couple years ago. But man, that offense, bro. Oh my God. Joe Mixon doesn't play all year. Your running backs are Nick Chubb, Woody Marks. You got the pieces, man. Get CJ up. Offensive line, brother. You drafted Ariante Ursary last year. That wasn't enough. Shout out Kendrick Lamar, but it's not enough. Few solid pieces, man, but it's not enough. You got to give that man some protection. Nico Collins is bona fide top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Christian Kirk, damn good wide receiver. We don't know if Tank Dell will ever play again. Jalen Noel, really good wide receiver. They drafted the other kid from Iowa State. Can't remember his name. Taller, more outside base wide receiver. I mean, just they got the pieces there, man. You just got to get a line. Decent line. You don't even need a top 5 line in the league. Just decent offensive line play, and you're set, bro. That's a damn good team. You just need to get a line. And then Jacksonville coming out of nowhere with Liam Cohen, man. Trevor Lawrence arguably should be in the MVP conversation, had a tremendous season. Brian Thomas Jr. forgot how to catch the damn ball. But Jacoby Myers was a trade deadline pickup. Travis Hunter looked good when he played. He ended up tearing his ACL or something with his ACL. Didn't end up playing the rest of the year. Defensively, Josh Hines-Allen continues to be good. I mean, Jacksonville is a solidly put together team, and they finally got a head coach in there to just get the talent. They got production out of the talent. That's all you need. You just need a head coach that knows how to get production out of the talent. Shout out Liam Cohen, too. Calling his own plays as the head coach, man. God, I wish Nick Sirianni did that. All right, AFC West. Denver going 14-3, gets the number 1 seed. Chargers 11-6, Kansas City 6-11, and Vegas 3-14. So let's start again from the bottom with this and go up. The Raiders now really seeing it, worst roster in the NFL. You got Gentry, you got Crosby, and Bowers, and that's about it. You got 3 pieces, my man, and that's it. God, that team was bad. You fire Pete Carroll after 1 year with Geno Smith and I think Aiden O'Connell started for them. Bro, the team just wasn't good. You scapegoat Chip Kelly, got him out of there. I mean, that team was just terrible. You still don't have a head coach. A lot like Arizona. What is it with these bottom feeders in the West that, this no one wants these jobs because they're so bad. And that's not good. That's not good at all. Like I said, you got Genty, you got Bowers, you got Crosby. What else, man? I mean, that's it. You got nothing else. You got some promising pieces. Colton Miller, Jackson Powers Johnson, JPJ. Got some good pieces, man. You got some pieces. You got three really stalwart pieces. You got nothing else, man. You got nothing else. And it's sad to say because I mean, Oakland or Vegas is one of the most storied teams in the NFL. And nah, not anymore, man. Not anymore. This team is just rough. Kansas City goes 6-11. Oh my god. Albeit, do I say the Eagles broke Kansas City? I don't think so. Rashee Rice didn't play most of the year. Chiefs fans were like, well, when Rashee Rice gets back, we'll be better. Yeah, no, you didn't. No, you weren't. No, you're not. No, you're not. I don't know what the hell was up with Kansas City this year, man. I really don't know. Maybe it was Travis Kelsey fucking around with Taylor Swift a little bit too much. Maybe Patrick Mahomes cutting the mohawk is what killed him. Man, I don't know. And it's crazy to see a team as good as Kansas City. And the crazy part is they have a lot of players that I like on that team. Trent McDuffie is an awesome dude. He's a great corner. Chris Jones, great defensive lineman. I like Travis Kelsey, man. A great player. Patrick Mahomes, great player. Andy Reid, great coach. I just, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I don't know what went wrong with that Kansas City team. I don't have much to say about it. The crazy part is you got a top 10 pick, and you're probably going to draft Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. And you're going to get yourself a 3-down running back that you haven't had since Larry Johnson. Because, yeah, you could say Jamal Charles. He wasn't truly I wouldn't really consider Jamal Charles like that kind of like workhorse running back. Like could catch the ball, but they haven't had a workhorse running back since Larry Johnson or Priest Holmes. I mean, it's been a hot minute, man. So Kansas City, this is basically reloading, man. As long as you keep your big guys, you're good. You're good. Get a couple extra pieces in there, and they'll be back. I'm not worried about that. Chargers, Jim Harbaugh having a great season with the Chargers this year. Battled injuries, man. Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt both missing almost the whole season, and them still making the playoffs. Justin Herbert looked good. Omarion Hampton, when he played, looked good. Lad McConkey, good. Their defense, solid, like damn. But yeah, I mean, they made some moves this offseason, lost a couple of guys, coaches. We'll get into that. But yeah, I mean, they look good, and I think they're going to be even better next year. And I dare to say, I think they could win the division with who they hired this year. So we'll get to Denver now. 14-3, man. So close. Do I dare say that if Bo Nix was healthy, they win the AFC Championship and they're going to the Super Bowl? Yeah. I think if Bo Nix doesn't break his ankle, they probably make the Super Bowl, man. They probably do. And I'm not going to lie, that defense is gross, man. They are great. PS2 is a lockdown corner. I mean, bro, they got so many pieces. It's just I don't know where to go with it. Offensively, they're there. They're complementary to the defense. It's a defense first team, and it's complementary everything else. But yeah, I mean, just an overall great team this year. Bo Nix looked good. Running back wise, they kind of went running back by committee with Harvey and I don't even know who else. Like Dobbins didn't play most of the year, so it was like Harvey and it's the only running back I can think of. Offensively, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Pat Bryant broke out. So good on them. Offensive line wise, Garrett Bowles pretty good. I mean they got the pieces there, but I mean defense is where they shine. PS2 is an awesome corner. Jonathan Cooper, great edge rusher. Nick Benito, great edge rusher. Linebackers, Drake Greenlaw was great pickup. Talanoa Hufunga, great pickup. I mean, they did a great job in the offseason. They really rebuilt that team, and Sean Payton helped them take a next step, but also kind of scapegoated his guys out of there. So it kind of Peyton's facing a little bit of backlash. But yeah, that's how everything kind of played out. Let's talk about real quick just how the playoff seeding looked. So we'll start with the NFC. So Seattle 1 seed, Chicago 2, Philly 3, Panthers with a 4 seed, Rams with a 5th, 49ers with a 6th, and the Packers were the 7th. So just kind of going through this first game of the postseason, Rams knocked out the Panthers at home in a very tight, close-knit game where the Panthers went full stupid on their last defensive possession and kind of let the Rams just walk it downfield. Green Bay versus Chicago, just an awesome game. Like all three of their matchups were this year, just tremendous, tremendous game. Philly versus San Francisco, I don't really want to talk about it, but I'm going to because that's the kind of person that I am. Our defense played pretty damn lockdown. He allowed 2 touchdowns all game. Everything else was a field goal. And we just couldn't score anymore. Offense, like the typical trend of this year, was just terrible for Philadelphia. Um, Defensively, we played very well though. So, I will say that one of our, yeah, that's all I'm really gonna say about that. Next round we had Seattle versus San Francisco. Seattle, that's not even a game to talk about. Just a curb stomping from the beginning. Seattle comes out, kicks the shit out of San Francisco, and it just doesn't even make it close. And then the Bears versus the Rams was absolute cinema, man. I mean, tremendous game. Um, that Seattle won, and or no, my fault, my fault. Bears Rams, tremendous game. Caleb Williams had a fuck it, the tight end's down there somewhere throw that you couldn't even do in Madden, and just said, hit, and somehow he caught it. He was somehow open, no clue how. But yeah, I mean, Chicago, the Cardiac Bears, the Kodiak Bears, you could basically call them. I mean, tremendous season from Chicago. They looked amazing. It was just a hell of a game. A hell of a game. That's all I got to say. And then Seattle versus the Rams. Again, another game. Absolute cinema. Tremendous game from both sides. Came down to the wire. I mean, I was watching that game with my wife, and I just basically said, like, when the Rams fumbled the punt, I was like, that's going to cost them this game. Like, that's going to be the reason they lose this game. And it sure as hell was. Because if it wasn't for that, Rams could have won that game. Absolutely. But I also got to say this. I didn't believe too much in Seattle going into the playoffs because I did not believe in Sam Darnold whatsoever. And you know what? He has proved me damn wrong. Granted, he hasn't had to do much because his defense has been so good. But still, I mean, just tremendous from them. Go to the AFC. We got Broncos at 1 seed, Patriots at 2, Jags at 3, Steelers at 4, Texans 5, Buffalo 6, Chargers at 7. So we'll go 5-4 matchup. Houston beat the shit out of Pittsburgh. I mean, wasn't even close, to be honest with you. This defense just overwhelmed Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's offense has kind of been anemic. It's been hit or miss, kind of a lot like how Philadelphia was this year. Their offense was just kind of anemic, and the Texans just took advantage of that. Buffalo versus Jacksonville, another very tremendous game. Came down to one possession. Just a great game. I mean, Buffalo outlasted them. Josh Allen played his ass off. Great game. And then Chargers versus Patriots, not even close. I mean, New England just came in there, beat the hell out of the Chargers, and I mean, it really wasn't even close at that point. Second round, we got Broncos versus Bills. Another really good game that came down to overtime. Yeah, some people can argue, like, was it a catch from Cooks? Was it? Yeah. It still doesn't matter, man. Buffalo still choked again. You turn the ball over that much, you can't expect to win a goddamn game. Um, and then Houston versus New England. New England just beat the hell out of Houston. Just demonized CJ Stroud. They had him out there seeing ghosts, a lot like how Sam Darnold did against them years ago. And then AFC Championship game, Denver versus New England. Like I said, if Bo Nix doesn't get injured, do I think Denver wins that game? Absolutely. I really expected New England to blow them out. I'm not going to lie. However, you watch the game, you've watched as much football as I have, and you should know not to expect that kind of stuff because when a team that is playing with house money and not expected to win, they got a chip on their shoulder, man. And they should really, they showed up and they played their asses off. So, great job for Denver in the AFC Championship game, showing up, backup quarterback. But it did not matter in the end. So, one of the biggest portions of this episode is all over. I'm going to say this. We are done now with the main portions of everything. And now we just got the hirings and firings. And some of this is OC stuff. Some of it is DC stuff. And then I'm going to kind of get into some of my favorite Super Bowls. But, that's kind of the biggest sections of everything. It's kind of get a stretching on there. And honestly, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, if you've made it this far, thank you very much. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That would be awesome. And if you're finding this video on another platform, that's awesome as well, too. Thank you very much. I'm going to try to get this out to as many people as I can. I don't know if I'll really be able to, but yeah. A little bit of a tea break, a little bit of a drinky drink. All right, so let's get into some coach firings. So this is going to be, I'm going to preface the ones that were in-season firings as well. But first off, Atlanta fires Raheem Morris. I think this was kind of a smart move. You go 8-9 both years. You don't have a draft pick this year. Defenses kind of look marginal. Offenses kind of look eh. But I think most of that's off of the injuries. Kirk Cousins getting injured last year. Penix getting injured this year. It is what it is. This is a very shocking one. The fact that the Ravens fired John Harbaugh. I know a lot of that probably has to come down to the fact that they have not had a lot of postseason success, and they really haven't done overly well when it comes to, Harbaugh had a Super Bowl win 13 years ago at this point. Haven't really done anything since. So, yeah, I guess kind of change of face. Bills fire Sean McDermott. Kind of figured this was going to come, man. Your best chance to make the Super Bowl this year with no Kansas City, no Baltimore, and you choke it away. Not good. Browns fire Kevin Stefanski. Shocking? Not really. But how people demonize this man, and Shador FC, kind of not surprised. I'm happy for Stefanski. He finally got out of that bad position he was in. He's going to a place that's a lot better now, a lot more ready to win. Dolphins fire Mike McDaniel. Very shocking. Why would you fire a coach that helped basically take your terrible roster 7-10? Giants, this was an in-season firing. Giants fired Brian Daboll after the rough start. And a lot of that has to go with the fact that Scatterboo got injured. Malik Neighbors got injured. Jackson Dart was injured for periods of the year. Just a rough year. Titans fired Brian Callahan middle of the season. Honestly, very stupid. Again, you're not in a win-now position. Why would you fire your head coach? Keep your head coach around with the rebuild. A lot like with the quarterback. Keep the head coach. Go through it. Once everything's ready, you hire a head coach that's ready to win now. Arizona Cardinals fired Jonathan Gannon. Not surprising. Raiders fired Pete Carroll. Not surprising, but also he shouldn't have even been the head coach to begin with. They should have went with somebody else. And then I think the one that I haven't touched on yet, and I think the most shocking one is the fact that the Steelers, they say that he stepped down. Pittsburgh fired Mike Tomlin. This was probably the most shocking one because Mike Tomlin was only the third coach that the Steelers had since 1967. Think about that. Over 50 years, 58 years, this organization had only had 3 head coaches. Tomlin was the longest tenured head coach in the NFL at the time of his firing or stepping down. It is insane to me that they went out and fired this guy. But I also understand it because I feel like he cared more about getting his winning record than really winning in the playoffs. I mean, although in that phase, Pittsburgh's defense has been very good, their offense has always been ass. Like recently, not always, but like recently, their offense is always ass. It just is what it is. So I think my big thing with that is the fact of you need to one, get some guys on offense, man. Jesus. Stop with the stopgap quarterbacks every single season. Draft the kid, develop him, let him work his way up. Like what they did with Big Ben. Let it happen and then build around him. You already have a really good number one receiver. Something that a lot of teams can't say that they have. You know, DK Metcalf is a bona fide number one wide receiver. You got some decent pieces around there. I mean, just get yourself a long developmental quarterback in there, and they're gonna be good. They will be good. I promise that. So let's get into the hirings now. So I'm gonna kind of go in on these about where I feel fit, just because some of these hires I don't really know too much about the coaches themselves. But we're gonna get into it. Atlanta hires. There's multiple with this. Kevin Stefanski as head coach. Tommy Rees as offensive coordinator. Matt Ryan, Falcons legend, president of football operations. Ian Cunningham as GM, and Steven Ackerman, I think it's Ackerman, as special teams coordinator. So, love the fit for Kevin Stefanski. They're in a win-now situation. He has a good offense to work with. You hire Tommy Rees, who I don't know too much about, but Matt Ryan coming in, great pickup. Ian Cunningham, great pickup. I think Stefanski's going to do wonders with the Falcons, and honestly, I will be as much to say as the Falcons are going to win the division next year. They're going to win their division, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be that close because I don't know, man. Dolphins hired Jeff Hafley as their head coach, Bobby Slowick promoted to OC, Chris Tabor as their special teams coordinator, and they are bringing in Nathaniel Hackett to be the quarterback's coach. I am very much so on the whole boat of I don't like defensive-minded head coaches in this era of the NFL, especially on a team like Miami, who is definitely more offensive focused than they are defensive focused. That should be a offensive head coach's position. It should have been like a Brian Daboll, something like that. However, Hafley, very well respected within the NFL with what he did this year with the Packers. He's a good play caller from Boston College. He was the former head coach there. So good pickup. Bobby Slowick, honestly, one of my top candidates for the Eagles offensive coordinator position. He's from the Shanahan coaching tree, which is one of the best coaching trees in the NFL. So him getting the offensive coordinator position there, I think is going to do wonders for that team. Good pickup there. And Nathaniel Hackett, when he's not a head coach, Nathaniel Hackett's actually a pretty damn good coordinator / coach. So good pickup there for the quarterback's coach. Eagles. Okay, I'm actually going to pass up on the Eagles, and I'm going to go back to the Eagles at the end of all of this. So, Chargers. One of my favorite hires of this whole offseason cycle was, obviously, if he would have came to Philadelphia, it would have made this so much better. But Chargers hire Mike McDaniel, arguably one of the brightest offensive minds on the market this year, goes to one of the biggest upsided offenses in the NFL. We have yet to see the full potential of what the Chargers could do offensively, and I guarantee you Mike McDaniel is going to take that Chargers team to a whole new level. If they could stop the injuries, keep Rashawn Slater healthy, keep Joe Alt healthy, their offense is explosive, their running game is good. I mean, man, I will arguably say way too early, pre-Super Bowl picks, the Chargers are one of my Super Bowl picks for next year. I know it's crazy, though. I know it's crazy, but I think if that can work out as well as I think it can, it will definitely work out. And then they hire Western Michigan head coach Chris O'Leary as their defensive coordinator. I don't know too much about him, so I'm not going to touch too much on that. The Jets hire Brian Dunker as their DC. Don't know too much about him. Browns hired Todd Monken as their head coach. I think this is a really solid hire. He's more of an old school head coach, which could really help out there in Cleveland. I don't know about the hire, man. I think you go with a younger head coach, knowing how your roster is constructed. I don't know. The Browns position would be somewhere where I would be like, yes, Jeff Hafley would work perfectly. You are a defensive focused team with a complementary offense instead of the other way around. That shouldn't have been that should have been like a Jeff Hafley hire or like a Robert Saleh hire or some defensive hire, but it shouldn't have been an offensive coach. Titans hire Robert Saleh as head coach and Brian Daboll as OC. Tremendous hires. I think Robert Saleh, the fact that the Titans don't have an identity yet, you got to stick with Saleh for a long time, man. You got to let him build up this defense because Saleh's going to build a really strong, solid defense, and Daboll is going to build a good offense. Stick with these guys for a while, and you're going to be good, man. I know a lot of people are like, well, Brian Daboll didn't want to coach Jalen Hurts. No, I think a lot of it was, and I think the reason why it's taken, like why Daboll took the Titans job over the Eagles job was because there's not as many expectations for all that. And I feel like a lot of that is coming down to the fact of he wants an offense that he can kind of build and mold into his own. The Eagles offense is already set. You just need a competent play caller. That's, I think, a lot of it. Bills hired, well, I don't want to say hire. They promote Joe Brady from OC to head coach. I kind of like the internal hire on this. Your star players are already set. Your head coach knows how to work with them. Very, very, very strong hire for Buffalo. I like the Joe Brady hire for them. Commanders hired David Blau as OC, and my autocorrect screwed up. And they hired a new DC, but it just says Drone Jones. Yeah, so that's not right. But they hired David Blau as their OC. I don't remember exactly who their DC was. Both guys they weren't like heavily coveted, so like it's not that much. Lions hired Drew Petzig as their OC. Terrible hire for Detroit. Probably arguably one of the worst hires in this offseason cycle. I mean, you're in the same position as Philadelphia. You have a already established offense with a very, very, very loaded with star power. And what do? You go out and hire someone who helped Arizona have one of the worst offenses in the NFL last year. Come on, man. Like, I can't make this shit up. Like, what are we doing? All right, so Giants hired John Harbaugh as head coach, assistant to the head coach, and special teams coordinator Chris Horton, and Denard Wilson as DC. John Harbaugh, excellent hire for the Giants. Old school head coach with playoff experience, who I think can bring a old school kind of mentality to a very young roster, which will very much so help the Giants. And I am slightly worried about the Giants going into next year. Chris Horton, don't know too much about him. And Denard Wilson, I'm pretty sure was on the Eagles staff at one point and coached with the Ravens. Very solid pickup for them. Underrated. Packers hired Jonathan Gannon as their defensive coordinator. This is honestly a very lateral move, I'll be honest with you. Going from Jeff Hafley to Jonathan Gannon. Gannon as a defensive coordinator is not bad. Just don't make the Super Bowl, because if you make the Super Bowl, he's going to screw up. He's not going to make adjustments. And he's going to be worried about his next job. I'm just venting. No. Gannon is a very solid defensive coordinator. Don't get me wrong. I think this fit with the Packers is going to be very good for him. I like the pick for Green Bay to go with Jonathan Gannon. Steelers hire Mike McCarthy as head coach and Ramon Shinyoung as their running backs coach. So I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't know who Ramon Shinyoung is. I don't know who he is. So I'm not going to speak on him. I love the Mike McCarthy hire for Pittsburgh. And here's why. Pittsburgh native. Yes, a lot of people like it's a lateral move. You're going from Tomlin to McCarthy. I don't think it's a lateral move. I think McCarthy is honestly, I would say overall a little bit better. He's going to bring more of an offensive-minded thing into there. So I think that they could actually get a decent offense going. Your defense is already really solid. So just go out, get yourself a decent DC and offensive coordinator, and you're going to be good. I promise you that. But I like the move. He's a Pittsburgh native, grew up a Steelers fan. He's not going to leave. And honestly, I was called crazy. I thought the Eagles should have brought him in as an offensive assistant last year. Ravens hired Jesse Minter as a head coach. The Ravens are one of those teams where they're already loaded with star power everywhere. I think hiring a defensive head coach for them is very smart. Now, he is coming from the Chargers, who had a very good defense last year. I think adding him into the power that they already have on defense is going to be so good for them. Normally, I would be like, yes, go out and get yourself an offensive head coach with the quarterback like Lamar Jackson and all that. No, I like the defensive head coach mentality. Baltimore has always been a very hard-nosed defensive kind of team, so I like that pickup very much so for the Ravens. Cowboys hire Christian Parker as defensive coordinator. I hate this. I hate this. The Eagles lost one of the best defensive back coaches in the NFL. I hate that. I absolutely hate that, man. I love Christian Parker. He has done so much for Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Even Darius Slay praises him, man. And I wish we would have had a way to make him like an assistant defensive coordinator, or like guaranteed he gets the position once Vic retires. But I don't know, man. I hate that the Cowboys got him because he's going to be a damn good coordinator for them. And I hate that we lost him. The Bucks hired Zach Robinson as offensive coordinator and Danny Smith as special teams coordinator. I don't know much about Danny Smith. Zach Robinson was interviewed by Philadelphia for our offensive coordinator position. I think that's actually a pretty good fit in Tampa Bay. You know, I think a lot of it's going to come down to the fact of I don't know if Bowles is going to be the long term there, but Zach Robinson is a very, very solid hire by Tampa Bay, and I think he'll actually do very well with them. And then finally, before we get to the Eagles one, Chiefs are bringing back Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator. I like this. Him and Andy Reid obviously work very well together. Very good pickup for that. Also, pairing with that, Chiefs did fire Matt Nagy too, just so you know we know that. But yes, Eric Bieniemy is coming back as the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. Now let's get into my birds. All right, so I saved my birds to last because I want to be able to talk about this in detail without having to worry about anything else. Eagles hire Sean Mannion as our OC. And just today of the day that I was recording this, they are bringing in Jonathan Grizzard as our passing game coordinator. Both were interviewed twice by Philadelphia, mind you. We hired Mannion last night at around like 4 to 5 o'clock, and we hired Grizzard this morning. We knew what the hell we were doing. A lot of Eagles fans don't like Mannion because he doesn't have the play calling experience, anything along those lines. I will say this. I will take a swing on I will easily take a swing on someone who has not called plays before from the Shanahan McVay coaching tree, because Matt LaFleur is from that coaching tree. I will take a swing on that because I know the upside is a lot higher. Jonathan Grizzard, I think, is a very good pickup as a pass game coordinator, because if you remember, before all the injuries ravaged Tampa Bay last year, Grizzard was looking like the next OC to come out of Tampa Bay. That was going to be really good. So I like that. Funny enough, I was told, last year when I had said when we hired Kevin Patullo, who I was also very high on, I will admit, I was high on him. In an organization hire, just promotion, I loved the hire because I didn't think a lot was going to change. I was sorely mistaken, man. I really, really was. I was called crazy and called a dumbass and called stupid for saying that we should have brought in Mike McCarthy as an offensive assistant. Well, guess what? I don't look so stupid now, do I? Because I said that Patullo was going to need help with game planning, with adjustments, all of this. I don't look so dumb anymore. And now I see Eagles fans that are like, well, why don't we bring in Matt Nagy as an offensive assistant to help him out? Man, the amount of people in this Eagles fan base that don't know jack shit about what they're talking about most of the time is honestly hilarious to me. Brother, I said the same thing last year and no one wanted to hear that. And people are saying it now for Matt Nagy, who is significantly a worse coach than what Mike McCarthy is. So I'm going to say this. I love the Sean Mannion hire. He's worked under some very bright offensive minds. Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay, obviously Matt LaFleur. He's from the Shanahan coaching tree, which is huge. He's also played under Kevin Stefanski. So I like what he brings to the table, and I like Grizzard. So we can get a little Grizzard in the Blizzard. So we got Super Bowl upcoming. Yeah. Best time of the year, last game of the season for the NFL. We got Seahawks versus Patriots, a rematch of Super Bowl 49, actually. So we're gonna have to see how this is. It's gonna be a little bit different than the last Super Bowl, but yeah, it'll definitely be it'll be interesting to see how this goes down. But yeah, let's kind of just go into this and talk about my favorite Super Bowls and wrap this episode up, man, because we are a little bit over an hour right now. I don't want to keep you guys for very long. But yeah, let's just go into some of my favorite Super Bowls of my lifetime. I got a bunch of honorable mentions, and then I got my top 5, the ones that I really loved. So let's get into it. Super Bowl 49, like I just mentioned. Before I get into that, I'm not going to make a prediction on the Super Bowl either because I think this is way too tight. What I will say is, though, if you are going to bet on this game, I'm not condoning it because I don't like, not that I don't like sports betting. I just think some people take it a little overboard. If you are going to bet in this game, only bet what you can afford. And if I was you, I would do the same part. I would do 2 different parlays. One for the Seahawks, one for the Patriots. Don't bet overboard. Just bet what you can afford. Do 2 parlays, each with different results. So that way, regardless of who wins, if you win, it doesn't matter. So let's get into it. Honorable mentions. Super Bowl 49. Patriots Seahawks. Tremendous game between 2 great teams of that year. And Pete Carroll decides to throw the ball on the 1-yard line instead of giving it to Marshawn Lynch and ending the game. Throws in Russell Wilson, drops back, throws a slant route, and it is picked off by Malcolm Butler. Stupid. Second honorable mention, Super Bowl 57, Eagles versus Chiefs. Oh, James Bradbury, you are a hoe. That's all I got to say. But no, in all reference, you know what? Bradbury did hold on that. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We lost the game fair and square. Bradbury hold. It was a good call. You call that at the end of the game. I don't think you should have called it, but he did hold. So, Super Bowl 56, Rams versus Bengals. Matthew Stafford gets his first. McVay gets his first. Kupp gets his first. Aaron Donald gets his first and rides into retirement. It was very much so a legacy-setting game. Kind of the same thing as Super Bowl 57, too, you know. Jalen Hurts showed up, proved that he was a primetime player. All that. Super Bowl 56, kind of the same thing. You know, Cooper Kupp wins MVP, won the Triple Crown that year. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase break out on the biggest stage. We love to see it. But it also really put to the fact of how bad Joe Burrow's offensive line was. If he just has a little bit more time throughout that game, I mean, what's stopping them from winning that game? I mean, it was a great game. Super Bowl 44, Saints versus Colts. Not the closest game. Actually, definitely the biggest blowout on this list. Saints won that game 31-17. However, the reason why is one of my favorite. Drew Brees gets his ring. The Saints just rolling the dice. Sean Payton coming out, kicking the onside kick. Beautiful. Saints get their first Super Bowl and the only one in their team's history. Right after a little bit after the Hurricane Katrina events. Great for the city of New Orleans. Great for the organization of the Saints. Always a very good organization, well run. Never seems to be that bad. You know, not like any coach ever paid his players to go and knock out opposing players. You know, that never happened. All right, next one. Super Bowl 38. Patriots versus Panthers. One of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, man. Really. And it would make my top 5 if it wasn't for me being an Eagles fan. But, I mean, that was just body blow after body blow. Both of them were throwing jabs. Both of them were throwing punches. It all kind of just worked out, man. I mean, that was a hell of a game. Both teams were just throwing haymakers. And then final one, honorable mention, Super Bowl 39. Another Eagles Super Bowl loss. The first Super Bowl I ever witnessed that I truly remember rooting as a fan. If McNabb's not puking and T.O. ain't playing on one leg, that's probably the first Super Bowl we win in our team's history. And I guarantee that because one-legged T.O. almost won us a Super Bowl. And God damn it, if Donovan wasn't puking, we probably win that game. So, yes, sir. Let's get in the top 5. So, number 5 is going to probably shock a lot of people, too. Super Bowl 59, just this past year's Super Bowl, Eagles versus Chiefs. Reason why it's this low is, one, the fact of we kicked the shit out of Kansas City this game. Wasn't even close. Jalen Hurts, once again, outplays Patrick Mahomes on the biggest stage. Our defense shows up, balls out, and does what they need to do to win a game. We love that. Absolutely shutting down Kansas City. This Super Bowl was personal. We didn't get a single sack on them the last time. We got 6. 2 picks, a pick 6, and just an absolute domination of a potential dynasty and a potential three-peat. You love to see it. Go Birds, dickhead. Super Bowl 51, Patriots versus Falcons. Brady gets his 5th. 4th? 5th. Yeah, 5th. Because he has 7 in total. This was the comeback. The good old 28-3. The old overtime Super Bowl. It will never get any better than that Super Bowl. That was one of the greatest games that I have ever witnessed in my lifetime. I mean, just Atlanta should have won that game handily. And I mean that, handily. Except, Kyle Shanahan goes all conservative and they don't win the game. Brady does Brady things, and yep, they go on to win the game in overtime. Number 3, Super Bowl 43, Steelers versus Cardinals. Cardinals make a Super Bowl run that no one could have even expected. We almost had an all-PA Super Bowl. Cardinals were 9-7, make a run to the Super Bowl. Kurt Warner, Larry Fitzgerald, damn near win this game. And then Ben Roethlisberger drops back. He looks, he fires. He finds Santonio Holmes in the back of the end zone, tiptoeing and making the game-winning touchdown catch. And the Cardinals are still without a Super Bowl. They have yet to make a Super Bowl run since, and they have yet to win a Super Bowl. Oldest team in NFL history has never won a Super Bowl. Come on, man. I feel so bad for Cardinals fans. Number 2, Super Bowl 42. This one, if you don't know, is infamous Patriots versus Giants. Round 1. The 16-0 undefeated regular season New England Patriots, 2-0 undefeated in the playoffs, 18-0 total, looking to go 19-0, are playing the underdog, wild card New York Giants. Should be a cakewalk for Brady and the boys, right? Nah, man. Eli Manning came in there, slapped his floppy Mississippian shit all over the place, and said, "Come here, son." And this is what started the meme that Eli Manning is Tom Brady's dad. Because Eli Manning had arguably one of the greatest Super Bowl performances against such a tremendous team. And I mean, damn, bro. The Giants upset the Patriots in that. Eli Manning looks, Plexico burst, wide open in the end zone. Game-winning touchdown catch. Or you got Eli Manning steps up in the pocket. He's swarmed. He's surrounded by Patriots. He gets away from it. He throws it up, and David Tyree catches it on the helmet. Was a meme for so long. But number one, as an Eagles fan, is Super Bowl 52. The first Super Bowl the Eagles have won in their team's history. Granted, this game, what wouldn't have been, I mean, if it wasn't for just how the game went in general, this game wouldn't be number 1. The Philly special, arguably the greatest play in Super Bowl, in any Super Bowl game. Nick Foles just going blow for blow with the GOAT, Tom Brady. Brady sets the all-time Super Bowl passing yards record, throwing for over 500 yards in the Super Bowl. Zach Ertz diving into the end zone. Brandon Graham strip sack. And if you're an Eagles fan, you've heard the call. The game is over. The game is over. Philadelphia, this one is for you by Merrill Reese. My favorite Super Bowl of all time. The first time, let me say, that I cried as an Eagles fan was when we won that Super Bowl. And it didn't even hit me right away. I was watching it with my now wife, in college. I took her back to her dorm room because I was living in an apartment off campus. And I remember I got back to my apartment and I cried then because I just could not believe we had won that Super Bowl. It was insane, man. It was insane. I don't think it's my favorite call in any Super Bowl. I think my favorite call has to come from last year from Kevin Burkhardt, who says, the Eagles with the ball back, looking to run the clock or maybe just throw the dagger. Hurts, going deep, for it all. Devontae Smith, he has got it. I mean, just a tremendous call by Kevin Burkhardt. One of my favorite calls in NFL history. But my favorite Super Bowl of all time is Super Bowl 52 of the Eagles beating the Patriots, winning us our first ever title as in our franchise's history. And guys, that is going to wrap episode 1 here of Nick Talks Football. I will be back next week, probably a little bit of a shorter episode unless things really go crazy. But yeah, I'll be back next week. I unfortunately won't be talking about the Super Bowl either because for some reason, Super Bowl's a little late this year. Same thing with the Pro Bowl games, a little late. But yeah, I'll be back next week. We actually probably talking about honors and everything. Yeah, Walter Payton, Man of the Year, MVP, all that. So I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. See ya.